On today's video, we're taking a look at the Discotek media releases I picked up from November and December 2025.
It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and on today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Discotek media releases I picked up from November and December 2025. That is the Lupin III Castle of Cagliostro Steelbook with a new dub, the Android Kikaider Standard Definition Blu-ray, Special Rescue Exceedraft, and the long-awaited Digimon the Movies Collection 2. There's a lot to take a look at here, and we're going to go through it all and give you all the details. So if you enjoy these type of videos, hit the like button and subscribe to the notification bell so you don't miss out on future uploads. Let's take a look at our Discotek media Blu-rays that I'm very excited to talk about. So let's begin with the Lupin III, the Castle of Cagliostro Steelbook Edition. So this is interesting because this is something we have had before in different versions multiple times. It's one of the most famous Lupin movies, and this is a new edition of it. So first of all, this is exclusive to the Crunchyroll store, so it's not on Amazon, Media OCD, that sort of thing. Like the other Discotek titles, it is exclusive to Crunchyroll. But this is a brand new Steelbook edition that features a new dub. Let's talk about the packaging first. You got a really nice, beautiful shot from the film showing the absolute chaos and pandemonium that happens in the third act. Nice logo down here. And then on the spine, you can see we've got the title as well as the Cagliostro seal up there. On the back as well, you can see we've got, the fact that it is directed by Hayao Miyazaki of Studio Ghibli fame. And it features an all-new English dub with a modern cast. So this is the Tony Oliver and Friends dub for Lupin. They've been dubbing a lot of the recent Lupin specials and movies. Of course, they also did part of Lupin Part 2. So the Tony Oliver dub cast is like the most familiar cast to English speakers, I think, at this point for the English language. So they have done a new dub of the most famous Lupin movie with the most famous cast. And I think that's really cool because a lot of the dubs that previously existed from 1980 and the 90s don't line up with what we would expect from a Lupin dub. So I think it's really cool that they gave it this treatment. So that is new for this release, hence why I bought this release. That being said, it does still have all three English language versions, plus the 1980 theatrical subtitle restoration, translation notes, original trailers, interviews, feature commentary, feature-length original storyboards, deleted storyboard opening, art gallery, and opening and ending credits collection. You can see also it still has the same tag we expect from the back of the Lupin movies, theatrical film number 2, 1979. Now the thing about the Steelbook is it's designed in a particular way. First of all, it has a slipcover that is so stuck on every copy I've seen that it takes a lot of force to get it off. It's nice when they're, tight so they don't slide off too easy, and then there's this where I am struggling to get the slipcover off of the Steelbook and trying not to squeeze too hard in the Steelbook and end up denting it. This is not ideal. That is my only real complaint with this set. So you can see when you take the slipcover off, there's no logo down here. You still get the name on the spine, and then you get the seal back here. And this Steelbook design is very clever, because if you've been collecting the Steelbooks for the Studio Ghibli films like Spirited Away or Kiki's Delivery Service, etc., they all have a similar design to this. So Discotek has made a Lupin III Castle Cagliostro Steelbook that matches the Steelbooks for Miyazaki's other films. So, you know what? I'm going to give them a lot of credit for that. That is actually a really cool design feature. So that way, if you're putting together Miyazaki's filmography, this will go right alongside it. You can see we do have the Blu-ray disc there as well, and then a nice shot of Lupin and Jigen on the car inside. I'm going to be leaving the slipcover off this for the rest of the video because I don't want to have to put that back on. But of course, here's the question, of as many of you are probably asking, but what if I have the 4K already? Well, the only thing you're missing out on is the new dub. The new dub is only on this new Blu-ray, but it's using a lot of the stuff from this 4K disc. So if you don't have the 4K, you probably could just go with this one if you're wanting the new Tony Oliver and Friends dub. But if you are someone that just wants to have, just the movie on 4K, you don't really care about the dubs as much, this is definitely covering that. If we can see here, there is a bonus feature layout that is nearly identical. Actually, look at that. The screenshots are actually identical for the back here. That's an easier way to read that. So you can see that they do have a lot of overlapping features. Now, of course, the question is there anything on this that's not on this? Let's go take a look, because first of all, we need to see how's the contents of the disc when we're looking at it here. So here's our new Lupin Cagliostro Blu-ray, and this is the menu. Got a nice little shot of Lupin there. Got play, got setup. Have you ever seen a setup menu that long? And it's concise, too. We've got English 2025 5.1 surround, English 2025 stereo, English 2000 stereo, English family friendly, which removes the curse words, 2000 stereo, English 1992 mono, Japanese 7.1 surround, Japanese stereo, Japanese mono, feature commentary in stereo. Also for subtitles, we got English subtitles, the 1980s theatrical subtitles, subtitles for the hearing impaired, signs and songs, and off. That's a lot of audio options. For extras, we have all of that. You know what? I'm just gonna zoom in because when you see your extras menu on a Blu-ray and there's a next button, you know you're in for a treat. There's all the treats. Look at all the extra stuff. That's incredible. Don't let the camera fool you. Video quality is fantastic. Audio quality is fantastic. New dub is really fun. It is just really fun having what is the typical Lupin cast get to dub the most famous movie. Now, for the sake of comparison, here is the 4K. Here is the setup menu on the 4K, which you can see is pretty much the same options we have on the new Blu-ray, except of course you don't have the new 2025 English dub, but you have all the others on here. And then for bonus features, here is the first bonus features menu. This is the 4K, which you can see has all that listed. And the next page, there is all that there. I'm going to put a side-by-side with the new Blu-ray to make sure nothing was missing. From what I can tell, I think everything is on both, except the new one has, of course, the new dub. Now, in terms of joining this up with the Lupin collection, it's not really going to fit your Lupin collection. The Lupin Blu-rays from Discotek are very consistent with the movies, the shows, and the specials each having a different format. Here's how the movies work, right? And Cagliostro's the second one. So if you pull this out and you want to put this one on the shelf, probably with the slipcover on it, which again, I'm just leaving off for simplicity of filming at this point, it's not going to match. Because it is designed to match the steelbooks for the Ghibli films, it's not going to match the design elements of the Lupin Blu-rays. So if that's a problem for you, that's another factor to keep in mind as well. Also, like I mentioned with the back cover, having that little tag for what the theatrical film number is, that's on the back of all the movies themselves. So it is kind of interesting. For me, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be, of course, keeping the Steelbook, but the 4K is going to be the one on the shelf, since that is kind of like the highest quality version. But more importantly, that's going to be the one on the shelf because it looks the most consistent with the others. Whereas I will keep this Steelbook around so that way when I want to watch that new dub, I do have it available because I do really like the Tony Oliver cast. That is one of my favorite Lupin. It's honestly one of my favorite dub casts, period. But I think for Lupin, they do such a great job. So I really like having this. But it's not going to replace the other Cagliostro on the shelf just for the consistency, but I'm still going to keep it around. I have the only other Lupin Steelbook I have, because I think the only one that exists is Lupin the Third, the First, and this can kind of sit with that. It's kind of like, oh hey, here's the little things in Steelbook that don't match the rest of the collection. But overall, it's a pretty cool release. Alright, here we have Android Kikaider 01. This is a sequel to the Android Kikaider series, which was created by Shotaro Ishinomori, who also created Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, and many other heroes. So this is a direct sequel to Kikaider, but it does focus on a different Kikaider, this being Kikaider 01. It does seem a little confusing because they, labeled the second show 01, but if people could handle it with Xbox, I think we can manage it here. But yeah, these are the two shows back to back. And what's cool about Kikaider 01 is that the other shows that were licensed by Generation Kikaider originally, Kamen Rider V3, Kikaider, and Kikaider 01, the only other show that's left is Inazumon. So they've all been licensed rescued by Discotek and gotten new releases, which I think is fantastic. So you can see here on the cover, we've got Kikaider 01, we've got the Hakaider squad here, because there was multiple Hakaiders here. This is standard definition on Blu-ray. Kikaider was Blu-ray because Toei did a Blu-ray remaster, but Toei has not remastered Kikaider 01, so the best Discotek can work with is the basically the DVD quality, but the entire thing is on one Blu-ray disc. There's another shot of 01 there. And so you have one Blu-ray disc that contains all 46 episodes. Nice collage of images on the inside there, seeing all the characters and events. Just like with a lot of the Toei releases, especially for the older shows, there's not a lot of art assets available. And I think that overall Discotek did a really good job presenting this the best they can with what they have to work with. And it looks really nice. I think it's one of the best covers despite the limited asset usage. Because you got 01, you got the original Kikaider because he does show up, and then like kind of the lead villains there, and I think it looks really nice. So let's take a look at the disc itself and see what kind of features we got on Kikaider 01. So here we have the menu for Kikaider 01, which you can see 01 right there. So we have play all, we have episodes. Episodes going to give you the whole list of episodes in 12 episode chunks, so you can navigate the entire series on a single disc, which is still really dang cool. Subtitle options is just on or off, and then we do have bonus features. Let's take a look at one of the episodes and the subtitles. So just like we come to expect with Discotek releases, we do have fancy fonts to match the logos of the series as it appears. So being a show from the 1970s that never got a proper remaster, it looks perfectly okay. It's not the best. It's not going to be the best. There's no HD restoration of it. This is what we got, which is the Toei video source in the best quality possible. It looks as good as it could. And honestly, that's not anything at Discotek's fault. It's Toei and their proper preservation problems. As in, they have a lot of preservation problems. But other than that, I mean, it looks good. It looks good for what it is. There's no, like, video errors or anything like that. Also, yellow block fonts for subtitles, so you can always read it. Love that. So there actually is a significant amount of bonus features on this. So we have a series promo, which is just a quick little, like, here's what the next show is. They usually would play these at the end of the previous show. So you can see it's literally a 30-second promo for the series. We have an interview with Shunsuke Ikeda and Daisuke Ban. Shunsuke Ikeda played 01 and Daisuke Ban played Kikaider. I never owned the Kikaider 01 DVD from Generation Kikaider, but based on the date being 2002 and the setting, I would say this came from the Generation Kikaider release. We have Kikaider Memories with Joan Ninomiya, which was a feature, I believe, also from the Generation Kikaider release, which is talking about Kikaider's impact in Hawaii. There also is a Kikaider 01 3D model, which you can see is a 3D model of Kikaider 01. You also get the opening and ending songs with vocal tracks on, so you could play along with karaoke, which I think is really fun. There's also a music video collection. And essentially, these are just clips from the series, put to music from the series, and I believe these also were from that Generation Kikaider DVD. And then lastly, we have the live appearance video. So this is a live appearance, what looks to be in Hawaii, of Kikaider 01 with the actor who played him as part of a big promotion. It's really great having these bonus features archived here, because as great as the Generation Kikaider releases were for bringing these shows out again, because they were limited to being only sold in Hawaii, their price was insanely high for a lot of people for the price that they were at, especially if you had to import them if you weren't living in Hawaii. So it's really nice that we have these releases that are a little bit more affordable, more restored, but they still kept the legacy of Generation Kikaider and the work they did to bring those shows over on the most modern release. So when putting this into your collection, of course, the other Kikaider Blu-rays we have Android Kikaider, the first series. So you can see there, we got Kikaider 01, and Media Blasters released the Kikaider film from the 90s. That was a dark reboot take on it that focused on the villain Kikaider. And there is our Kikaider collection. So there is one more release coming from Discotek. It's Kikaider Reboot, the modern reboot film, and that is coming soon. It's actually up for pre-order, which is nice, and that's going to be it for the Kikaider franchise. There was a Kikaider anime and a Kikaider 01 OVA, but unfortunately they're owned by Aniplex, and Aniplex doesn't license out to anybody else, and Aniplex probably isn't interested in releasing Kikaider. And if you check my recent video on anime prices, you know that if Aniplex does release it, it's going to be significantly expensive for what's included. Alright, here we have Special Rescue Exceedraft. Now this was a surprise announcement because they didn't announce it previously at a live stream like Discotek normally does. It just sort of appeared and went up for pre-order. Exceedraft is the third in the Rescue Police series, which is a sub-series of Metal Hero shows. So it comes after Soul Brain, which came after Winspector. So these three shows, let's get them in order, Winspector, Soul Brain, and Exceedraft, are all connected with characters carrying forward from show to show to show. So you want to watch them in these orders if you wish. I mean, if you want to just jump to Exceedraft, you totally could. But in a lot of ways, you could, really have a little sub-series here, which we've now completed. And I think that's really awesome to see. And they came out pretty much in order, which is also great. So if you've been watching these releases as they come out, you're watching the series in sequence. So you see we got the main three heroes of Exceedraft here on the cover. Nice kind of, lights and sirens behind them. You can see, of course, you got the lead hero there. You got Special Rescue Exceedraft on the back. You can see we've got some screenshots from the show. This one, I believe, was the series that forego having any robot heroes, but instead went for a full human cast, which was new for the Rescue Police series. So you got a different shot of the main team there, looking really cool. I do like some primary colors in the Metal Hero franchise. And then, of course, they are on the disc, and then they are also in the back, and that is the same artwork. You can see the shot here of them in the back cover is the same shot of them on the disc. It's just edited and rearranged, because once again, Toei does not provide that much art assets if they even have them to begin with. Once again, this is a standard definition Blu-ray with the entire show on one disc, so let's take a look at the disc itself. Special Rescue Exceedraft. Really nice menu design. Really love the way that looks. Of course, we got Play All, we got Episodes. Episodes going to be the first 22 on one page there, and then we're going to go all the way over here, go to 23 to 42, and then the last 6 will be there on the end. So you can get all the episodes nice and easy. Subtitles, you can turn them on or off. Watch the slider animation. Isn't that neat? I don't know why it's so lengthy, but it's cool. And then the only bonus feature we have is a series promo. And this will be the promo that played after the last episode of Soul Brain. Now, this being a more modern show on standard definition, it's not been restored into HD than Kikaider 01. It looks a lot better. It actually looks pretty good. I really don't really have a problem with the way that a lot of the 90s shows look when they're on a format like this. They look good. It definitely looks better than a lot of the 90s Sentai look. Metal Hero shows seem to be kept a little bit more pristine, so even though it is an SD, it doesn't look too bad overall. Once again, subtitles in nice, big, bold yellow, so you never can miss them. So where does Exceedraft go on your shelf of Metal Hero Blu-rays? Well, it goes after Soul Brain, before Jan Person. Oh, it's a blue spine. Sometimes it catches me off guard, because we had like kind of the sky design with Gavin, but they've all been black spines. Otherwise, it's blue. So this is our spines. This is what our collection looks like. Just Beyond was the first Metal Hero release, the first Tokusatsu release from Discotek. Mine, for some reason, didn't have a slipcover, which annoys me to this day, but nothing I can do about it. But here we have all the shows so far. And so a big question is, now that we finished the Rescue Police series, we finished the Space Seraph series, and pretty much everything else is a standalone show, for the most part, let's go over what shows we do not have in the Metal Hero series so far. So let's go through the list. So first up, we've got Gavan, who is getting rebooted as part of Toei's Project Red as Gavan Infinity. Then we have Charavan, which was the second Space Sheriff series. Then we have Space Sheriff Scheider, which was the third series. Then we had Mega Beast Investigator Just Beyond. We're still waiting on Jiku Senshi Spielbahn and Shoginki Metalder and Sekai Ninja Sen Jiraiya, because the next show we have is Kido Keiji Jiban. And then after that, we've got the Rescue Police series, Tokei Windspector, and of course we've got Super Rescue Soul Brain, and now Tokusatsu Exceedraft, and then the show after that, which was Robo Jan Person, which means we just need Blue SWAT, Juko B-Fighter, and B-Fighter Kabuto for the main series, plus Kabutak and Robotak, the two series that are still part of the Metal Heroes, but kind of take a different tone. So we're sitting at, there's a 3-series gap in the middle here between those, and then we're missing the last 3 shows at the end. And then we'll see, because Kabutak and Robotak don't have proper home video in Japan. At least I'm pretty sure still to this day. They do have a release in China, but I don't know what that would do for Discotek trying to bring those shows. But of the core Metal Hero series, there's still 6 to go. But the fact that we went from having 0 Metal Heroes officially released in North America to having all but 6 is kind of amazing. And maybe with the new Toei series Project Red taking inspiration from Metal Hero and even rebooting Gavan, we might see a little bit more movement, and we might be able to get more of the series, and I'm very excited for that. There also is the same issue that comes up with Kamen Rider, which is that there's a bunch of movies that also aren't included on these Blu-rays. Scheider's got a couple movies. I believe Jiban has a movie. Some of these have these short movies, and they haven't been collected. I know the release in Japan has been a little scattered on those as well. They're not always included with the series, and that may be leading to some of the licensing hiccups with that. But for the most part, we've got a big chunk of it. We got a big chunk of it for sure. So here's the reason most of you clicked on this video: Digimon the Movies Collection 2, movies 4 to 6, on Blu-ray. This is a very exciting release for multiple reasons. It's going to be a little bit complicated, and it's probably why I skipped over Kikaider 01 and Exceedraft a little quicker. This is a hell of a release for many reasons. So Discotek, very famously, because I think it's like their best-selling release or whatever, the Digimon the Movies 1 to 3. I want to say it was their best-selling release. It's the one that was charting Amazon charts forever. This was bringing the first 3 Digimon movies together in HD with not only the Digimon the Movie cut that was seen in North America originally, but also brand new English dubs featuring the original casts that were available for these movies, matching their Japanese versions a lot closer. This was a pretty big release. I did a whole separate video on it, but it was pretty substantial because it was like, okay, not only are these movies in Blu-ray, but we got new English dubs for them. And then there's this thing. So this thing's got me just a little confused. So here's the thing. On the surface level, this is great. I want to go into why it's great. But there's this little thing about the English dubs that's bugging me because they won't spill their secrets about how it was done. So we're going to get into all of that. But let's talk about what is included here first. We have Revenge of Diaboromon, the 4th movie, Battle of Adventurers, the 5th movie, and Runaway Locomon, the 6th movie. This Revenge of Diaboromon movie 4 is the last part of the Digimon Adventure series that had been released in Blu-ray in North America, so that's pretty awesome. And these are the first things for Digimon Tamers we've gotten, because we haven't gotten the show yet. You can see the cover art, as I just kind of flash it up here, matches exactly to the style of Digimon the Movies Collection 1, and the spine matches as well. You can see we actually have a Digivice here for Collection 1 and a D3 Digivice for Collection 2. At Omnimon, now we have Imperial Dramon Paladin mode. So nice, consistent, looking pretty great on the shelf. We'll get to the whole collection later on. All right, on the back here, this is the thing that is really fascinating. So 3 classic Digimon adventures digivolve onto Blu-ray with newly restored English dubs that are now completely uncut. So it's, it says, includes 3 lost Digimon movie dubs, restored, remastered, and uncut for the very first time. You can see some bonus features. So here's what's going on here, and bear with me, this is complicated. So these movies were not initially dubbed when they dubbed the shows. When they released the shows, they did the first 3 movies of Digimon the movie. They didn't do like a compilation of these 3 for English dubs. They were dubbed, though, several years later for promotion of Digimon Data Squad. Disney commissioned Studiopolis to do dubs for these movies. And so when they did these movies, they got most of the cast back. But there was some exceptions. Joshua Seth didn't return as Tai. Kirk Thornton didn't return as Gabumon. They also had a different actor playing Kai. It was Yuri Lowenthal, even though Brian Donovan had played Kai's cameo in the actual dub of Season 3. So there was some actors that were missing, and those TV movies, were aired as TV movies. Those were never released on home video. The only way we've been able to see them is because people luckily recorded them. They only aired a few times in promotion Digimon Data Squad, and we never saw them again. So the actual master tapes, I can't imagine are still around since nobody cared to even put it out on home video. And the dubs for these, as well as the first Frontier movie, which is not in this set, but hopefully will come later, did need to be restored and remastered because there was, there was no proper release of them outside of that. Now, the source of where they got their audio from, I have no idea, but I imagine there was some broadcast tapes. We'll take a look at one of the bonus features, kind of give us a little insight into that. But there was a lot of work that needed to be done because people have been trying for years in fan projects of like, oh, let's take the Toei Blu-ray source and put the English audio to it, but the English audio doesn't sound great because it's from a VHS tape. Whereas here, the English audio sounds incredible. Also, when you realize that Joshua Seth is now voicing Tai, and Brian Donovan is now voicing Kai, and Kirk Thornton is now Gabumon, and you have to wonder, how did that happen? We'll go into that into a little bit, but there is some partial redubbing done, and the Sound Cadence logo on the back of this packaging, which was the studio that did the redubbing for the first 3 movies, tells me that, yeah, they did a little bit of redubbing when they did those other movies. These are not brand new dubs. These are still the dubs from the original Toon Disney airing, but they've been touched up, and they put some voices in that were missing from before. You can see we've got Imperial Dramon Paladin Mode's eye as the disc eye there, and then the full-size version of the posters on the inside. But yeah, if we're going to crack into this, we need to crack into the disc itself, take a look at the credits, and figure out what is going on with these new dubs, as well as how does it present and how well does it look and sound. So here we have Digimon Movie Collection 2. Video plays a loop of clips from all 3 movies, which is really cool. Kind of circles through them. It'll play Target, the opening to Zero 2 first, then it'll play Biggest Dreamer, opening to Tamers after, so it's got a 2 music loop going on here. And of course, we got Play All. We got the movies themselves, which are listed by their English names. So you've got Revenge of Diaboromon, Battle of Adventures, and Runaway Locomon, which is pretty cool there. Now for setup, this is where things get interesting. So we have 3 audio options. We have English 2.0 stereo, we have Japanese 2.0 stereo with subtitles, and Japanese 5.1 surround with subtitles. Now here's the thing. Only movie 5 has a surround track. 4 and 6 have a surround track that is simulated. They created a 5.1 track that sounds like a full true 5.1, but only the 5th movie has an actual true 5.1 because it was a longer movie released in Japan. Then for extras, we got some other cool stuff here, but let's take a look at the movies themselves. What I'm going to do first is we're going to switch to Japanese and then play one of the movies so I can show you the subtitles. Okay, so here we have a shot from movie 4, Revenge of Diaboromon. You can see subtitle text, bright bold yellow. You can also see that on-screen text is translated, like Odaiba Middle School. When insert songs appear, they are in Japanese Romanji in purple, and then English in light blue up in the corner, so it doesn't interrupt the dialogue subtitles. So on the Japanese version, you can see it does have the Japanese title, The Adventurers' Battle, which is subtitled in a similar font to the actual title card treatment. Love to see that. Okay, now where things get really interesting, we're going to switch over to the English. Before we get into the dub, let's talk about the title treatments. Can you believe that this is a subtitle track? This is a subtitle track. I'm amazed by what Discotek can do at times, because in the original English version, the subtitles for the credits appeared like this, and they were added in digitally. So for the Blu-ray, to make it consistent and clean with what it originally was when it aired, they added those in as subtitles. Now, here's how good of a match this is. One of the bonus features here is the English opening and ending collections, which is using the original video footage of those English credits. Now this is clearly not the restored footage that's from the Japanese Blu-ray that uses the video source for this set. This is an original TV version. What's interesting is that it's presented cropped, because you can see that we have a TV Y7. That's the top of my TV. There's nothing above that. It is cropped a little bit to make the original aspect ratio, because I think when these aired, they were cropped down to 4:3. If I'm not mistaken. I'm not exactly sure what the original aspect ratio was. It's hard to tell. These things only aired a couple times. But you can still see that there is the markers of what would be a broadcast tape, which is what I believe these are from. And so here you can see they're recreating this in the subtitles on the restored version. And if you ever wanted to wonder what the difference between Blu-ray and old video is, you can see how grainy and pixelated and low quality these original credits were. And that's why we're using the new Blu-ray Video Master that looks much better. So here's the interesting thing about these dubs. These dubs are listed as uncut, because it's true, they don't cut any scenes in the Japanese version, but they're not exactly the same dubs from the Toon Disney days, because some actors couldn't reprise their roles. The biggest ones being Joshua Seth as Tai, Kirk Thornton as Gabumon. They couldn't come back because of scheduling or whatever happened when they went to record these originally. Now, adding to this, the music used in the English dubs was the music from Digimon Frontier, the Season 4 dub, not the original adventure dubs or anything like that. So these dubs, as presented on here, I'm going to play you a short clip, see if I can avoid, good old Toei. I'm going to play you a short clip because you got to hear that they actually have kept it pretty close to how the dubs were originally, which those dubs were more faithful than the original Digimon the movie dubs. They added a few jokes here and there, but they're pretty straight dubs, all things considered. But they still use the Digimon Frontier music, as well as now featuring Joshua Seth as Tai and Kirk Thornton as Gabumon.
Agumon, careful!
How can he not see you?
With an eye that big.
The Kuramon are just ignoring us. Where are they all going to?
We left that part up to Davis and the others.
So with that, we can hear those voices have returned to us, right? We've gotten back the voices that we felt like always should be there. Now, the question I have, were these newly recorded, or were they somehow recorded back in an archive? Because there's not a clear answer on that within this release. See, because once you finish playing all the movies, there's an English credits list. This starts with translated credits of the Japanese version of the credits, all the production staff that made the movies. But if you go farther enough, you actually get English release credits for this Blu-ray. And as you can see here, English language version. It still has the credits from the original version, the music by Chris Horvath, of course, the Frontier music, written by Jeff Nimoy, voice director Jeff Nimoy, all the stuff that was from the original, because these new voices that we never heard before in these parts are still using the exact same script as the original. Nothing changed there. But you can see all the way down here, Tai Kamiya, Joshua Seth. Gabumon, Omnimon, Kirk Thornton. That was not the case when these originally aired. How do I know this? Well, remember the vintage English credits? Well, here's the vintage English credits, which is as it aired on TV, where the credits were put over here while clips played. And what do we see there? Jason Spizak as Tai, which was the case of the original dub. Weirdly enough, they did not credit the Digimon voices in these old credits.
To go, I found you! Yeah, something like that.
That's not Yuri Lowenthal as Kai, that's Brian Donovan, because that was the voice, he was the one who played Kai in the series. This is adding to our little mystery here. Once again, let's check the credits. Once again, there's the credit, Kai, Brian Donovan. Here you can see on the vintage credits for Battle for Adventurers, which is in even worse shape than the Revenge of Diaboromon ones, you can see Yuri Lowenthal as Kai. So there definitely was a voice change at some point. And as you heard there, Melissa Fawn now sings the ending song to Runaway Locomon, which was a song cut from the English credits from the original. I'm not going to go play another clip for that. They just didn't use the song in the credits, but she sings the song using the same lyrics from when it was sung in the movie, and now it's in the credits. So that's 3 major changes across all 3 movies from the dubs that existed as we knew them. All right, let's talk the English dubs a little bit closer here. First of all, there was an answer as to why we don't have a English dub with Japanese music, and that is because the older dubs materials just weren't available, and so they had what they had to work with. Basically, kind of confirming that all of what was done here was some kind of miraculous edit job that I'm still baffled by in the best way. Okay, so I want to go over the dub cast on the original dub versus the new one that's present on this Blu-ray. First of all, this is the cast for Revenge of Diaboromon. As you can see that there's only a credit for Joshua Seth as Tai. Some people are saying that they still hear Jason Spizak's lines in the movie, who voiced Tai in the previous version of the dub, but it is not credited as such. Now, Joe is credited as Michael Lindsay, who was the original actor, but also Eli Farmer for additional automated dialogue replacement, which makes some sense because Michael Lindsay sadly passed away and Eli Farmer had voiced him in the redubs of the first 3 movies, so there was a little bit of audio stitching done there. The other big returning cast would be Neil Kaplan has returned as Hawkmon instead of Jeff Nimoy covering for him. Kirk Thornton has returned as Gabumon instead of Jeff Nimoy covering for him. Patamon is once again Laura Summer instead of being Bridget Hoffman. And that's basically all the cast changes for Revenge of Diaboromon, which had the most overall. Now for Battle of Adventurers, of course, Brian Donovan voicing Kai instead of Yuri Lowenthal is the big change here. The other thing to note is that there was a scene of Takato, Guilmon, and Kai fishing that wasn't in the original dub. They cut it from it, and that has been redubbed now with all the voice actors returning for that scene. And for Runaway Locomon, there was one returning cast member, which was Bridget Hoffman, who voiced Jerry in the Digimon Tamers dub, but Felice Sampler had voiced her in this movie when they originally dubbed it. So of note, Bridget Hoffman was not in the dubs for the first 3 movies, as none of her characters were there, so she was brought in specifically for this partial redub process, and that's pretty impressive. And then here's the credits I was looking for. English language version restoration. Here's the credits to give us some input into how this was all done, because I imagine there was a ton of work put into this. It's been said a ton of work has been put into this. There's no clarity on what's been done. I am currently trying to figure out a magician's trick. That's what I feel like right now. I'm like the guy looking at stage. I'm like, okay, I love the trick. How'd you do it? So, the audio restoration and re-recording process was done by Twisty Gadget and Sound Cadence Studios. Sound Cadence Studios famously did the Digimon movie 1 to 3 dub. Twisty Gadget's done production work on Discotek releases before. Audio restoration producers, Mark Levy, Brady Hartle, Amber Lee Connors, and Marissa Lenti, all people that normally work on Discotek stuff. Audio restoration director, re-recording prep, and additional production coordinator, Melissa Lenti from Sound Cadence. We have a lead audio restoration engineer with Lindsay Roberts, re-recording engineers with Drew Cento, Skylar Kilborn, Patrick Morphy, Sunny Onati, Wyatt Baker. Materials restoration sync, Brady Hartle, that's another common Discotek worker. Remixing and additional mastering engineer, Gregory Mahan. Music restoration and fill-in, Elaine Moreland. Additional music restoration, Megan Shipman. Music restoration engineer, Alter Audio, also known as Alter Clad. And Sound Cadence Students Coordinator, Sarah Paulson. So these are all people that worked on this. And I'm seeing things like audio restoration and re-recording, and audio restoration and re-recording. So I don't exactly know how they pulled this off, because from what I understand, if you don't have a music and effects track, it's incredibly difficult to redub something. That's part of the reason why there's not like a version of Digimon where we have the Japanese music with the English audio. It's the same case here. but yet somehow we've added in some re-recording that didn't exist prior? Or what happened? I don't exactly know. The one thing I do know is that there are now English dubs that are more complete with the casts that match the English dubs of the shows these movies are connected to, and I think that's a beautiful thing. I've tried looking around to see if there was some magical extra hidden button to go with the complete original English audio with those replacement actors. There doesn't seem to be that case, and I don't know if there is some reason for that. I can't say because, well, it hasn't been explained. So all I got to go with is I've given you all the evidence here. The thing I need to tell you is that you can't even tell that anything was done. And that's kind of the crazy part. Just want to put something up here that's not moving for copyright. The thing is, I watched these movies last night, and I watched them with my mom because I wanted to know, because I know when the voices are different, because I've followed Digimon and I know these original dubs. But my mom had no idea that anybody was redubbed, because you literally can't tell. The audio is restored to a quality I've never heard before on these English dubs. It sounds incredible, it looks amazing, and if there was redubbing done years and years later, you literally couldn't tell because it all flows together perfectly. It's absolutely insane. Like, if you're somebody that had watched the VHS recordings of these movies year after year, over and over again, and then you're hearing these dubs, it's almost like, in one way, you're like, that doesn't sound quite right. But for me, I kind of kept forgetting that Brian Donovan wasn't originally Kai because it just felt natural that he is. I didn't, kind of remember what Jason Spizek's Tai even sound like after a certain point because Joshua Seth floated in. Even though some people have said a couple lines are still Spizek, it flows together like you can't even tell. If you're just watching the movie, it just sounds like it was always natural and always meant to be there. And then you just sort of forget that they're even using the Frontier music because, I personally think it's better than the previous three series of soundtracks, but that's just me. It just flows nicely together, and it's really incredible work, whatever work has been done. Also, there is some bonus features. We got the Japanese movie promos for the three movies, TV spots for the sixth movie, production art gallery, which just features some production art from the series, for each movie. There you go, production art. And then you get a gallery of movie posters. It's a very well-rounded disc, especially for the price it goes for. So the magicians at Discotek performed an amazing feat here, and they won't tell us how they did that trick. And the fact they put out a blog post today while I'm recording this and still didn't tell me how they did it will just be a mystery for another day. I'm so impressed because I sit here wondering, how is this possible? But I'm really glad. I think this release is fantastic. It's the best way to watch these movies by far. And to have the English dub options with the full cast from those shows is really special. And it's really cool that they were able to pull that off, however they could pull it off. Of course, we need to put this on the shelf. There's going to be different ways to put it on the shelf for people, right? So we do have, of course, all of our Discotek Blu-rays that we got to put up first, naturally. So we got Season 1 and Season 2, Adventure and Adventure 02. This is how I'm doing it for my shelf, is I'm going Japanese, English movie collections at the end, because, by technicality, this first movie takes place here, this first movie here takes place there, so if you want to do that, that was an option. Then you could put Tamers here. It depends on what your preference is for shelving. The nice part is no matter what your preference for shelving is, it's going to look nice and consistent. For me, I'm pretty happy with the method I've got here, which is what I've had them on the shelf for a while now, which is Japanese, English, movie. That works for me. Of course, we got the modern Digimon Adventure films that Shout Factory's released. Look at that, I'm not busting out 6 volumes of Try anymore. They finally put the 6 film collection on sale. And so you can see that, you add those. These are not going to be consistent. Different studio, different company. But there is, nice, there's Try, Last of Lucina, and 02 at the beginning. So if you're talking about just Digimon Adventure, in Japanese and English, this is everything. This is all the major Digimon Adventure stories that exist for the Adventure timeline, and we are done with Adventure. I think that's why they moved Movie Collection 2 up to go ahead of Tamers, because I think that they wanted to have all of Digimon Adventure on Blu-ray, which I think is really, really awesome. I think that Tamers is coming, because they've already done some work here with the Tamers movies. I'm pretty sure they're not going to stop the train of Digimon if they can. I mean, it seems like Toei's been pretty happy with Discotek and their work on these releases. So I'm glad to see them keep going, especially while Digimon's having a bit of a moment right now. I'm glad we got the momentum going. A lot of work goes into all of these releases. Not a single one of these is quote-unquote an easy release. Crazy restoration work, you know, fixing up the Japanese masters, making the English version edits so it matches consistency with how it was. Same thing here. The English masters were even worse shape for season 2. Having to go and redub the movies, fixing up the dubs for these movies. Like, it's an incredible amount of work that has gone into these Digimon Blu-rays, and I'm very happy to see that this much effort and energy and excitement and enthusiasm from people making it has gone into these, because as a fan, I could not be happier with the Digimon Blu-rays. So that does it for Discotek Blu-rays for November and December for me. More to look forward to in 2026 for sure. I'm very excited. We've got Kikaider reboot already confirmed. They, haven't done a live stream in a little bit. And once they do, I'm sure they're going to be announcing a lot of very exciting things. Very excited. This company has been doing an amazing job with all the stuff that I love, and I'm very happy to see, and it's been a highlight of 2025, and I'm so glad with this Digimon movie collection. I'm really, really happy with it, and it's really awesome. So on that note, if you want to keep up with future releases and future videos on the channel, hit subscribe now so you don't miss out on Blu-ray and other types of videos as well. Hit the like button while you're down there if you haven't already. Helps the channel, helps me. Really do appreciate that. If you want to continue the conversation, you can join our Discord server in the link below. If you want to help support the channel directly and get perks like early access to videos, you can join as a channel member. Let's give some special shout-outs to our channel members. Special shout-out to all our channel members, including Captain Tier, Spindash54, Masterbin95, Forever1000, Super Shadix Boom, Veloquence, Rogue Leader 2448, Mr. Smelly Potato, Archive, Rivers, Common Pikachu, Jamie's World, Showbiz NCNA, Ek Basil Expedition, Vlade, Kyle Birdwell, Alice James, Doge9789, Fernando Pereira, Levante Jackson, Adrian Montanez, Gobro Fam, C. Hoffman, B. Tub, Killer Nuck Tokusatsu, Amananiqua Do Tempo, Justin Giovanni, and Sonic Doctor. Thank you all for your support of this channel, members and viewers alike. If you so wish, I'm on social media on Blue Sky and Letterboxd at Soundout12. You can also find my awesome graphic designer on our Discord server and on social media at DarkClaw643. And you can find Hero Club at hero-club.com for Tokusatsu interviews and more. And until next time, it's Soundout saying, see you in 2026.